Hey, thanks for tuning in. This is Joanna, and today I'm interviewing Melanie Scofield of Earthwalk School of Herbal Traditions. And I actually just found her on Facebook and asked her because she was selling these tinctures for what's going on right now, and I was really intrigued about it. And so I wanted to have her on just so that she could talk to you guys about what's going on right now, about the herbs that can help us with our immunity, with our lungs, help us to feel calm and good during these crazy times. And yeah, she's just an awesome. Oh, there's a kitty. All right.
Apple Cat.
What's his name?
Apple Cat. He's really the star of the show.
It's true.
Yeah.
Aw. So tell me a little bit, tell everybody a little bit about you, Melanie. How did you get into herbalism, and what did that look like for you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. This is really fun to be interviewed, and it's so nice to connect with you too, and I hope that those herbs serve your highest good. So how did I get into herbal practice? It's sort of a long story, as it is for most people. I think most people get into the healing arts because they've experienced some kind of illness or some kind of trauma, and that's definitely true in my case. For me, I went to college in Boston and I was studying music, but I was determined to get to India and study with a tabla master. I was really, really into North Indian classical drumming at the time, still am. There's actually some behind me. I don't know if you can see those drums there. We're in the music room upstairs. And I spent 4 months there, and I had an incredible time spiritually, academically. Just, it was so unbelievably rich. And I was there for 4 months, and for 3 months I was fine, and I took all of these very cautionary measures of washing fruit and vegetables before eating them, but you know, I started to get really arrogant toward the end. I was like, I've been here long enough, I'm probably immune to these bugs, and I just got a little lazy, and so I contracted this very severe case of amoebic dysentery, and it was really scary. I had lost a lot of weight. I became emaciated. I was losing blood. I mean, I truly thought that I was dying. And, but being in India, so many doctors were well-versed in Ayurveda, sent me to homeopaths. And at that time, I was what I thought was cured. And I was just completely blown away. It was actually homeopathy that did it for me. 2 days of being on homeopathic preparations completely cleared out my system. Amazing. So that had me being a believer in a new language of healing arts that I had never been aware of before. And then when I went back home, I had a relapse, and not having access or not knowing even what they had given me, I didn't come back with any medicine. The only thing I knew to do was to go to a gastroenterologist. And of course, you know, all they could do is give me broad spectrum antibiotics, which completely wrecked my digestive system. So it took me, I would say, a number of years to really feel solid with my digestive health again. Hi, Apple. And, but the blessing, the silver lining is that I found herbal medicine, and I found incredible people along in that path to heal myself. I met with acupuncturists. I met a Korean ginseng master, and I found the school where I ended up going to school for herbs, which is the Boston School of Herbal Studies. And I found my true teachers, my mentors there, Madeline Hope and Tommy Priester. And so I did several levels of training with them, and did my clinical herbalist training with them as well. So I graduated with them in 2007, and that's when I opened up the doors to my practice.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so what helped you get over the dysentery the second time?
I think the turning point for me, this is kind of a funny story. You meet unlikely people in unlikely places sometimes. I was working at a Whole Foods market in Vienna, Virginia at the time. and there was a janitor there who was Korean and he could hardly speak any English. And he passed me. We were like walking in front of the dairy coolers or something like that. And he saw me and he looked at me and held his stomach. And he said, "When I look at you, I feel so sick." And I was just like, oh my God. But no, what he was trying to say was that I feel your sick in your stomach. And with his very broken English, told me that in his country, he had been actually a pretty prominent architect, but fell in love with an American woman and moved here, and they've raised their kids here together. So none of his credentials carried over. And he also came from a long lineage of ginseng producers. Wow. And so he started bringing me this ginseng, this specially prepared honeyed ginseng root. And he would bring me a few every day. He would say, eat every day. And I would eat that. And then he came over to the apartment that I was living in at the time. I was in my 20s. And he had stolen a slab of marble from the seafood department. And he came, hardly said anything at all, just showed me what to do. He slapped it on the stove, turned the heat on, heated it up, wrapped it in a towel, and told me to hold it against my belly. He said my digestive system had gone cold and I needed to drive the heat back into it again. And I truly think that it was him that really helped me turn that corner. And, I definitely had to do parasite cleanses, and I definitely did some herbal protocols, but I would say it was him and his awareness of energy that really shifted things for me.
That's great. That's amazing. Yeah. And so how long have you been in practice now?
So I've been in practice since, there's a funny thing on my screen. There we go. Yay. I've been in practice since 2007. So about 13 years now. I started in the Boston area. I moved to Maine, to Midcoast, Maine about 7 years ago. And before I moved up here, I had been teaching apprenticeships for the Boston School of Herbal Studies. Okay. But it was my dream when I left. I knew I wanted to continue, and so I opened up my own school, and we're in our 5th year running now. We're the Earthwalk School of Herbal Traditions, and I feel so incredibly blessed to be sharing what I love, what I believe in, what I'm passionate about, and we get to see people. We get to help people in our clinics, and we get to see people get better, which is amazing. And there's all this for people that have never used herbal medicine and really walk that allopathic approach, sometimes that's called for and needed, but it's nice to see people that have used herbs for the first time and really see an effect and have that aha moment of oh my God, there's really something to this. So it's gratifying.
That's so awesome. How is Maine doing right now? The people in
we're all isolated, and we've been in our house all day, and I have to be honest with you, it was not an easy day today. It was our first day of attempting iPad homeschooling with my son's school, and things didn't work right, and it was frustrating and just really had me rethinking a lot about what we should be doing with this time that's given to us.
Right.
And I don't think adding layers of stress to what is already going on is going to be good for our immune systems or good for our stress levels and essentially our happiness. So,
right.
Yeah, we're thinking this.
Yeah, and that's a good segue. I think a lot of people are rethinking their lives right now and what's going on and what's important, and and most of all, how to stay healthy and not be so stressed and constantly thinking about what's happening. And I think a lot of people are having they're talking themselves into symptoms, and so I think I'd like you to address the connection the mind has with the body in being healthy and being well, and also how we can use herbs to kind of help with that as well.
Yeah, well, I think when you are mentally depressed, it's all connected spiritually, mentally, physically. You can't help but feel low. And there have been clinical studies about feeling low or having negative thoughts and how that impacts your immune system. It weakens the production of white blood cells, which are, our little police force inside of us, keeping things in balance. And it's probably a better way to say that, but there's a lot of things that we can do. I think during this time, it's important to get outside, and since we all have a bit more time on our hands, really to use that time wisely. Sit down for 15 minutes and really meditate, really connect with yourself. I think that it's so easy. Our minds just run and run and run, and it's so easy to make excuses for not doing things like that. So I think you asked before a lot of simple things that we could do to be healthy.
Yeah.
Try to stay positive. So of course, getting outside is one thing, but out here in Maine, we don't have a lot coming up yet. The plants are starting to emerge, especially under the leaf litter. If you spread out the leaves, you can really see all the plants that are starting to come up. But what is shining for us right now is the evergreens, the pine needles. And if you must have pines growing in Chicago. I would imagine that you have pines out there too, maybe different varieties. But all of the pines are incredibly rich in vitamin C. So maybe going outside with a purpose, finding a green place if you can, and thinking of ways to harvest. If you have a little space where you can harvest ethically, mindfully, in a place that hasn't been sprayed and is a clean area. But in the wintertime, in the cold months, and of course I know we're getting into spring, but we still have that nice cold weather, the vitamin C is concentrated in the needles. So it's actually the perfect time to harness that incredible power of pine. So that's one thing you can do, is get outside and snip off some pine needles and make a nice tea. Put them in a pot, simmer them a little bit. And once the water turns a little bit pink, you know that that's the ascorbic acid that's being released. So if the water hasn't turned pink, you haven't steeped it long enough. So that's a little tip for you.
Neat. I had a really big Christmas tree, and my roommate helped me bring it in, but then he went on a trip, so I had to figure out how to do it. So I actually pruned the whole tree, like snipped it all. But then I was like, oh, I should keep these needles. But then I was afraid, what if this isn't the kind of pine you can have as a tea? Are there different kinds of pines, and can you?
Yeah, and you may have had a spruce tree, and spruce trees are all of the evergreens, pine, spruce, hemlock, they're all rich in vitamin C. So you can't go wrong.
Okay. Isn't hemlock poison?
Oh, there's poison hemlock, but there's also a hemlock tree, which is a majestic evergreen. So no, that's not poisonous.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, nothing. I was going to go on, but we don't need to.
So what
another simple thing go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You were talking about another.
So another simple way, if you don't have any money, you don't have access. Friends of mine have gone to the health food store and they're like, they're out of all the immune tinctures. What do I do? So there's just simple things that we can do. So this is an ancient Qigong practice. Do you know about this? Mm-mm. This is the thymus thump.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So your thymus gland is behind the sternum, and your thymus produces white blood cells, which help us to combat viruses and bacteria and pathogens. So one thing you can do is wake up the thymus gland by sort of tapping on it. It feels really good, like you're Tarzan. It feels good, doesn't it? It sends a vibration to the heart chakra, to the heart center, and it wakes that area up. And what I've been reading from a lot of people is that this virus is telling people to open their hearts, and that this is a product of people's hearts being shut down. And whether you think about that, whether you believe that or not, it doesn't matter. The truth is we all need to open our hearts more, especially in this time, and extend love and gratitude to ourselves and others. And that's going to boost your immune system. And then when you're thumping, you can go, which sounds really silly, and you might not want to do it online like I'm doing. I have no shame, so I don't care. But it's a good thing if you're in the car driving, nobody's watching you or listening to you. You can and that sound also vibrates and resonates in the chest cavity. So again, you're waking up that heart chakra. It's good for your lungs. If you've got congestion in your lungs, it gets it moving upward and outward, and then you're stimulating your immune system. So beautiful.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Does it help? Because I know for coughing, like if people are coughing, does that help with that at all?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you have phlegm stuck in the chest, it's also going to help with that, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what are some of the supplements people could be taking if they have the small version and then the more advanced version if people
Okay, so simple things that people can buy, vitamin D for starters, vitamin D3. That's the most easy to assimilate, so make sure you're getting a D3 unless you have some problem with that. But
I got like a D3K2 or something. I have drops that are D3K2. So do you need the K2 with it?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it makes the K more assimilable if the D is present. They're sort of brother, sister. They're family. They like each other. Nice. So they help with the assimilation of each other.
Okay.
Yeah, but D specifically, plus we're at the end of the winter, right? So we're at that time where our Ds are going to be at the ultimate low before we start getting outside a lot and the sun is strong enough to actually be able to help our bodies produce D. So definitely D. It's a known fact that getting more D boosts the immune system.
Zinc.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just on the D note, I've been hearing conflicting things everywhere from like 1,000 milligrams to 10,000. And then I was hearing if you take too much, it can make you sick. So what should people be taking? Like, what is that?
I think 1,000 is fine. I think unless you have a medical reason to take gobs of vitamin D, I say don't do it. And one reason is because it can actually rob your body. If you take too much, it can rob your body of other essential minerals. Okay. Because it's just out of balance. It should be taken with other minerals and other nutrients.
Yeah.
So just one. I say just 1 to 5,000 I use on a daily basis, but not overdoing it unless you have a medical reason to do so.
Okay, that's good information because like people say take D, but we don't know how much.
Right.
So the next one was zinc.
Yeah, zinc. Zinc is great for the immune system. It's good for your skin. It's good for your nails and your hair. So there's some like external perks for taking zinc, but zinc is something that we tend to be naturally deficient in. And unless you're eating a lot of seafood, then you're probably not getting enough zinc in your diet.
Does seaweed have zinc in it?
It has traces of zinc. Yeah, but it's better for iodine. It's such an important herb for the thyroid, our sea herb.
Yeah, I just started taking Irish moss and bladderwrack tea. And it's been making me feel a lot better. Uh-oh.
I totally didn't know that. Go ahead, good.
Oh, it says our internet connection is unstable. Okay, we're back.
We're back. You're taking a wet tea?
The bladderwrack and Irish moss.
Excellent, good.
Yeah, it's given me a whole lot more energy, actually.
For your thyroid, you think? Yeah, feeding. Are you hypothyroid?
I think so, yeah. I have a lot of trouble losing weight, and I'm very sluggish, very tired, but since I've been taking that and a little bit of extra iron, I've had a lot more energy. Yeah.
Have you ever taken ashwagandha?
A while ago, yeah. I haven't taken that regularly. Is that really good?
It's really good. It's really good for the thyroid and for that feeling that you just described.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Low energy. Yeah.
I'll add it in.
Okay.
let's see. So we've got D and zinc, and what else?
We've got D and zinc. And then I would start adding in herbs after that. So ways to boost your immune system, of course, eating a good diet. So getting astragalus roots, this is something that I do sometimes, is just throw astragalus roots into rice that we're cooking, or throw it into a soup stock or something like that. But at this time of year when people are getting sick, and plus it's the transitional time, going from one season to another tends to be a vulnerable time for people where they're just more open and susceptible to getting sick. So astragalus helps to bolster your immune system and sort of acts as a barrier, protects you. Awesome. So astragalus is a really great herb. A lot of people are doing elderberries. Mm-hmm. And actually, I'd love to talk about elderberry. I don't know if you're familiar with all the dialogue that's going on Facebook and elsewhere about don't take elderberry or do take elderberry. There's a lot of confusion right now about elderberries, and now people are afraid of elderberries. And I think everyone's so on edge, and there's so much anxiety, and now people are fearing elderberry, which is very silly to me. So
why, what's the pros and cons of this?
So I think somebody started writing about COVID-19 and potential cytokine storms, because the last major influenza or swine flu that we experienced in the 90s, in the advanced stages, they would see these cytokine storms. And I don't know if you're familiar with this concept, but it's what it is that the body's been fighting off this infection for a long time. And in this final attempt to fight, sometimes when we are getting better and when the immune system is really strong, we have this initial level of inflammation. Oh. So almost like a fever, like if you get really sick and then your body goes into this extreme state of fever and high temperatures and inflammation, or if you get a big whack on the head and then you swell, there's like this initial state of inflammation that's bringing in blood flow that's supposed to heal. But the cytokine storms that they're talking about have to do with more inflammation than the body can handle, and so the lungs swell. They're so inflamed, and there's already so much liquid in the lungs that they end up dying. And so some of the talk on the internet has been that elderberry could potentially send people into a cytokine storm because of this what's the word I'm looking for? Stimulating. It's an immunostimulant, which is what we want. We want to stimulate our immune systems initially. Mm-hmm. And people are concerned with elderberry contributing to this. But I'd like to debunk that theory, because I feel like people who experience those storms are already in intensive care. They're already in the hospital. They've been fighting with this for a while. And at that point, they're not taking herbs. Right. So, yeah. So I would love to talk about this formula that I'm preparing for people. Mm-hmm. And just talk about a little bit about the herbs that are in there, just so that you can understand them a little bit better because you may be finding something similar in your area. So
everything's out of stock in my area.
Okay. I have a little bit more. I don't know how many. I could probably make 20 more bottles, and that's it. But okay. I wasn't really out this to make. I really didn't begin making this to make any money. I just thought, like, I'll put a formula together, and then people started saying, I want one. And now I'm hearing that everyone's out in the health food stores. So I think it is important that you have something on hand. So having an herbal tincture that is antiviral, that also stimulates the immune system, is really what you want. If you think you have been in contact with somebody who could have coronavirus, or even a cold or flu, this could be used for any type of illness. That is a viral origin. So the ingredients are Baikal skullcap, echinacea, andrographis, elderberry, red root, licorice, ginger, and prickly ash.
It actually tastes good.
It tastes good, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's sweet because of the licorice, and it's a little bit warming. And I don't know if you can taste the prickly ash in there.
Maybe.
Like
I was like, this is great.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it doesn't have to taste gross. So Baikal skullcap has been getting a lot of press specifically for coronavirus because it's said to stop the replication of the virus, keeping it from being able to divide and spread within the body. It's also anti-inflammatory and antiviral, so that's one of the main ingredients. Echinacea, as we know, is a wonderful antiviral, and if you've ever worked with echinacea, you know, you take a lot of it at the onset of something. If it didn't work for you, you move on to other herbs. But usually if you take enough of echinacea right at the onset, you can keep from getting sick or keep from progressing. So there's andrographis, and that's Andrographis paniculata, which is a Chinese medicinal herb. And andrographis is what I consider the big guns. I feel like for a virus like this, I don't want to use, there's some gentle herbs in here, but I really want some strong, heavy duty herbs. And it's one of the most bitter herbs you will ever taste on its own. That's why I really tried to balance it out with some of these other herbs. It has an affinity for the respiratory tract, so that's perfect for this, for the lungs, for the sinuses. Andrographis is great if you're somebody who gets recurrent sinus infections because it's antibacterial, it's antiviral, and it clears heat from the system. When you have an infection, you have a lot of heat, so it helps to move all of that out. There's elderberry in this as well, and we know elderberry is great for the immune system, it's packed full of antioxidants, and it's like a food herb to me, so I don't really worry about elderberry. I think it's great. Red root. So red root is also known as New Jersey tea, and it's a lymphatic herb. So our lymphatic system doesn't have its own motor. You have to move in order to move the lymph in the body, but there are herbs that help that stimulation of the lymph system and helping it to move. And so that's one thing that happens when we get sick with a virus. And sort of jumping ahead, if you get to this point where you're experiencing a cytokine storm, the lymph gets backed up. So if you move it through, it needs a place to go. So in the old, let's say in the 1800s, the Thomsonian herbalists, they had this phrase, which was keep open the channels of elimination. So if you're really sick and you're not peeing and you're not pooping and you're not sweating and you're not breathing because your lungs are congested, all of these ways that we are detoxifying our bodies, if that gets backed up, if any one of those 4 channels of elimination stops, it puts more of a burden on the other channels. So the idea with keeping the lymph moving is keeping those channels of elimination open. So that's the red root in there. So just to clarify, like if you have all these antiviral herbs in a formula, you're killing the virus, but then where's it going? It has to leave the body.
Right.
So that's why the red root's in there. Licorice is antiviral. It's sweet. It stimulates the immune system. It tastes good, and it also is good for the adrenal glands. If you have really high blood pressure, you can't do licorice. That's the only thing. Let's see here. Ginger is warming, balances out the cooling herbs, and it also is great for circulation and anti-inflammatory. And prickly ash is a mover. So if you put a little prickly ash in a formula, it stimulates it. It's a catalyst. It moves the other herbs through and gets them acting faster. So that's a little bit about that. I have some available if you want some, or I can teach you to make your own if you have, or maybe even help you make a really great formula with what you have in your kitchen or what you have on hand. I don't think you need to use these exotic herbs. I think that no matter where we live, there's always something available, and you probably have stuff in your kitchen that's super good for you, and you just haven't thought to put it together yet.
Right. I've been doing a lot of turmeric and ginger tea with nettles. Yeah, and that's been amazing. I think, I used to have so many herbs and take so many herbs, and then I forgot about them. And then once I started taking them again, I was like, oh my God, like I remember this. Yay. It's so good. But also, like, I'm thinking we need to start growing this stuff just in case,
Yeah,
like, you know what I
absolutely.
mean?
Yeah. And there is concern for that. I'm growing, I'm growing a lot now. Every year I'm expanding my gardens, and it feels so good to be making my own medicine from what I'm
Oh,
growing. And I don't grow everything though. Like there's a lot of these herbs that I'm not growing, or maybe they don't grow in our climate. So,
right.
um, but there's quite a lot that you can grow in cold climates. And it's important. We all need to be growing. If you're using herbs, if you're eating food, try growing a little bit of it. Even if you live in an apartment, you can put stuff in pots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend, Anthony Anderson, and he used to live in New York, and he would put a bunch of he just had a small little balcony, but he would grow stuff on the balcony, just to grow things, right? But now he has a company called Grow Paradise in Hawaii, and he has a whole bunch of land where he's growing like sustainable permaculture farm garden things, and he teaches people how to do that. But it's like, I think we all have to be growing stuff right now, because who knows what's happening. You know what I mean? So it's important. Just, and I think, I think we used to do it. Like, what was it during the Second World War? We had victory gardens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Let's bring them back.
Let's bring them back, please.
Just be victorious every day.
Absolutely. I'm in. Well, so tell everybody where they can reach you if they need to, and what your website is, and I'll put it in the notes of this video, but just tell people how to get a hold of you.
Okay. So my website is earthwalkherbalschool.com, and it's the Earthwalk School of Herbal Traditions is the school that I direct. We have incredible teachers here and a wonderful body of students. And let's see here, we're in Rockport, Maine. And yeah, my phone number, if you want to give a call, is 617-755-8063. But you can also contact me, excuse me, through the website. And there's a contact form on there, and you can find me on Facebook and also on Instagram. And I'm pretty good about getting back to people. So if you have questions about putting things together, making your own herbs, if you want to order something, I'll see if I have enough to send out. And I'm also really interested in helping people get through this. For example, if you find that you have COVID-19, but you are at home and you're alone and the hospitals are backed up and you're not able to get help, then I would be happy to help you get through the different stages of this virus. There's simple things that we can do, like steams. There's probably, if you don't have access to healthcare and you don't have a lot of money, you can probably find a way to get some eucalyptus and peppermint oil and do a simple steam, just keeping everything open. So people find themselves in a panic, they don't know what to do. So I'm happy to just walk people through what they can do for their health.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Melanie. I think this has been so helpful, and it's going to help so many people. And thank you for being out there helping the people.
You're so welcome. Yeah, and thanks for reaching out. And I really am excited about the work that you're doing.
It's so fun talking to you, and we'll talk again soon. I would love to have you back on.
Great. We would love that. Thank you so much.
Have a great night, everybody. See you later.
Bye.